Welcome back to Funding Fridays. It is great to be back. We had a double last week because we were celebrating Global Entrepreneurship Week. So we're back to normal this week with just one episode. And just to reset for anybody who's only just joined, my name's Debbie Lewis. I'm the Regional Ecosystem Manager at NatWest Enterprise, covering the Midlands and the East of England. It's my role and responsibility to make sure that as many people as possible know about the fabulous range of resources that NatWest offer, regardless of whether you bank with them or not, to SMEs. And through part of my role, talking to so many SMEs across the region, people were saying to me, this support is brilliant. I'm loving your workshops. I'm loving your events. But Debbie, I just want to find the money. Can you help me get my hands on some money to grow my business? And so Funding Fridays has become a bit of a passion project of mine to uncover the pots of money that exist across the region to help you to scale your business by injecting a little bit of something extra that perhaps you didn't know about before. So I'm delighted today to be talking to you about a whopper of a prize fund that we're going to uncover. And I have with me Martin Spiller, who is representing the Bettany Centre for Entrepreneurs out of the Cranfield University. Martin, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Debbie. And I can speak as a NatWest customer, so at least there's on both the business and personal side. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Disclaimer, you don't have to bank to be on the podcast.
No, but I just thought, I didn't even think you'd ask me, so I'm just revealing I'm indeed a very satisfied customer, both from a business banking perspective and also a personal banking perspective.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your custom, sir. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a senior lecturer in entrepreneurship at the Bettany Centre, as you said, within Cranfield School of Management, and I teach a range of programs from the MBA course where I look at, for example, entrepreneurial finance, through to more recently at Milton Keynes University. I'm leading the entrepreneurship elective part of that course for the undergraduates. And I also teach lots of executive education, so lots of companies. So I'm the academic lead on Ready for Scale, Ready for Net Zero Growth, which we'll talk about a bit later on. And I work on things like the Business Growth Programme. So a bit of a wide purview. And I'm an entrepreneur, accountant, barrister. I don't have a PhD, so I don't have any doctor title in front of me. So I'm one of the practitioner entrepreneurs. Yeah, well, yeah. No, hopefully I get mine approved to start in January. But I'm not on the panel for the academic side of my. I'm a practitioner academic and focused on kind of leading that teaching.
Amazing. Well, you have been nominated to come and talk to me today about an incredible £50,000 potential fund that an SME or multiple SMEs can bid for or apply for through the Supplier Skills Programme. Is that right? Have I got that right?
That's right. So Birmingham City Council, in conjunction with the European Social Fund, have created this thing called the Supplier Skills Programme. It's a 4 million fund, and it allows SMEs to, I guess, kind of split it into to access funding to support training for them and their staff. The total limit is up to £50,000 per organisation, and it's a 50% matched funding. So whatever you spend, you would apply to get 50% back. And it's it's a pretty big deal, I think, for us. And we were approached by Birmingham City as a collaboration because of our work with SMEs and some of the things we've been doing with some of the councils more local to us. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good way if you're thinking about training you as an entrepreneur, founder, owner, or your team. It's something that you should be aware of. If you're in the greater Birmingham and Solihull area, it's something I don't think should be missed. It's a pretty good chance to save yourself a lot of money and access a good pot of funding, which is quite exciting.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about that geography. So because it is sponsored by Birmingham Council, you have to be based in, or your business has to be registered in that area. Is that right?
Yeah, so you need to be, and we can help you through this, but in the greater Birmingham and Solihull local enterprise, so LEP area. Okay, it's open to all businesses, so third sector, SMEs, social enterprises. It doesn't matter, it's across the board, which is brilliant because we know that sometimes our social enterprise, third sector friends get cut out of this. So it's open to all businesses and SMEs, so small, medium enterprises. So I guess anybody less than 50 employees qualifies, but it has to be in that Greater Birmingham and Solihull LEP. And obviously that there's big geographic boundaries, Debbie. But one of the things I guess we'd reach out to people is, and we'll give you you'll put a link, I think you said in the bio, of how to get in touch. But we can help you through that between us and the Birmingham Council. But at least that covers a pretty big geographic area as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in terms of the eligibility criteria, apart from that geographic restriction, do they have to be a limited company? Do they have to have a certain number of employees?
No, there's no limits. You have to be in that area and you have to use an approved source of training support. So there's a website for the Supplier Skills Programme by Birmingham Council. You can see the people who support it there. Probably best that if you're not looking to link up with Cranfield, that you check with them in advance. Cranfield are an approved supplier for some of our programs, and there's a list that we can talk about after this. But it is about any enterprise that's an SME. I guess it's a limited company rather than sole trading, but we could check that in that area. But it has to be on an approved program and fit the criteria. And like I said, it's a match funding up to £50,000. They'll pay for up to 50% of that funding.
Amazing. And I think speaking to SMEs, as I do on a regular basis, there always seems to be this myth that I would love to bust around: I never went to university, or I wasn't academic, and therefore I won't be eligible to do a university delivered programme. That's just not the case, is it?
No, I mean, Debbie, Cranfield specialise. I think this is why, and it's one of the obvious questions, is why Cranfield, when it's a Birmingham programme, Cranfield's speciality is SME. So I think if you ignore my side of my portfolio, which is the MBA, MSc world, our other, what we call executive education for business owners, we're heavily focused on SMEs and pretty specialist at it. So no, absolutely not. You'll very much find it's applied, taught by people who've been there. So my background is I'm a chartered accountant and also a barrister, because when I sold my first business, I decided I'd qualify as a barrister because I think I look quite dashing in a wig, and B, getting good legal advice at a price that is effective. No offence to my legal colleagues, but I found it quite difficult to do that on a regular basis. So I thought I'd cut out the middleman, and being a barrister is quite exciting for me. But no, we teach our programs for executive education are taught by people who've been there, done it, bought the t-shirt, know what they're doing. And no, it's definitely not about an academic experience, albeit being part of a wider university has certain benefits. So as you know yourself, you were part of our Global Entrepreneurship Week and some of the stuff that you were doing. There's very exciting things about being part of a university that I think people should not worry about their past. That's all gone now. Think about what the future is. And we're very much, somebody described us like Velcro. So once Cranfield's Bettany Centre gets in touch and gets hold of you, we're stick together. So I think from my perspective, please don't be put off. Come and give it a try. At least just come and see one of our briefing events, and we'll put a link in the bio for that briefing event next week. I think it's on Tuesday next week, the 29th. But please come along and see, because it's not what you'd expect. It's very different from undergraduate education.
Fantastic. Thank you. I often find that when we speak to SMEs, they really do think that that academic provision of support is, I didn't go to university, so it's not for me. And it's just not the case. So one of the other myths I'd like to bust is if some of our entrepreneurs have already taken advantage of the Help to Grow scheme that was endorsed by the government, where it was 90% funded, but they had to pay the $750 to be able to go to a university centre to be able to get that. Does that mean they can't take advantage of another supplemented university programme?
Absolutely not in this case, Debbie. I haven't yet had the privilege to teach on the Help to Grow. I know we've put our application in, and I think it's going quite well, but I don't know where it's at, because luckily I didn't have to be involved very much. What I would say is the courses that are under offer under this from Cranfield. So if we just talk about a couple of the courses, for example. So if we look at the entrepreneur, owner, founder, there's three main courses that are under option. One is called Business Growth Programme, which is our kind of flagship Premier League product. So if you're over $500,000 turnover with more than about 5 staff, been going for 3 years, that's our kind of benchmark. That program is very different from the small business charter stuff in that it's focused on your business rather than working in a kind of more academic environment, talking about business in general. So the business growth program is all about working on a 12-week program in a small cohort of 3 with a business specialist growth advisor to help, what we call counselors, to help you come up with a business plan that you can then grow. We've also got Ready for Scale, which is the smaller version, which is an online course where we can cover businesses up to about 500,000, although we have had businesses as big as 27 million on the course. But that does the same thing for smaller businesses in an online bite-sized chunk where we get together online once a week to talk about it. But instead of getting one advisor to 3 businesses, you have one advisor to 8 and you have a bit less contact because there's a bit more time for you to do it yourself. We've got a net zero version, which incorporates sustainability. All of those are very different to the ones you talked about because they're all about your business and building a growth plan for your business. Equally, for the entrepreneurs teams, there's other courses that we offer, like our essential management course, our finance fundamentals, and our sales management courses, all of which, once you've done one of those courses with the entrepreneur, help to explain to your team how they're going to get on board with the growth journey. Because obviously, when you go on a growth journey, that changes not only you, but it changes the people that you work with. And that, as I'm sure you know, Debbie, from working with the sector all the time, changes sometimes challenging for different teams. So for me, it's a very different thing. The SBS is one set of, and it's a bit more academic, albeit I look forward to finding out more when I get to teach it if we're successful in our application. But for me, these courses are all about your business, coming up with a growth plan for your business, and therefore very different things. It's like an active learning environment, but focused on you. So the case study is you rather than looking at, I don't know, if we're teaching an MBA course, for example, Apple or Google or Greg. So it's a very much different process.
Yeah, which I think resonates more. So that's fantastic. And I guess when we think about why would somebody want to invest in their team, it's a challenging environment. We know the cost of doing business is rising and it's a tricky landscape. However, we also know that talent retention is incredibly important and attracting talent is ever more difficult. So I guess being able to offer your existing team opportunities to develop is beneficial and will help you retain talent. But also if you are having to maybe move people through your organization because of a lack of available talent in the marketplace, it helps you get them there quicker. Is that kind of the right applied thinking?
I think I couldn't agree with you more. In general, applying training for people has proven model to help businesses grow, help the people grow. The other thing to bear in mind for SMEs is we often ask people to do multiple roles. It's not like obviously at NatWest where you've got specialist teams for HR, marketing. You have to wear lots of different hats, and I'm sure as you personally wear lots of different hats. But one of the things about that is sometimes we assume people can do things and a bit of support. So, you know, if you did sales essentials or finance management with our guys, Andy and Jerry, at least teach them about finance, because finance isn't as obvious as it might appear. There's a lot of lingo, there's a lot of, and again, sales, demystifying things that might appear simple, but giving people a process and understanding the psychology, the background. I think it's really important because we ask people to wear hats, but we don't always support them to do that. And I think the other thing for me, I think it's probably the hardest thing at the moment is finding the right people and recruiting the right people. One thing SMEs can't do typically is enter this kind of accelerating pay race where, you know, we keep paying more. That's a race to the bottom for you because your resources will tend to run out faster than the bigger entities. One of the things that I'm advocating, and we're seeing a lot more, is this kind of employer value proposition. Just like you have a value proposition to your customers, an employer value proposition. What can you offer? Okay, accelerated promotions, more responsibility, and this is this kind of SSP grant with the opportunity, the Supplier Skills Programme, to put 50% of the money received back from this fund. I think it's a great opportunity to upskill your team, both helping you to grow, but also helping them to grow for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my previous life, I ran my own business, and I understand the challenge of often in a small business particularly, people will get promoted internally just because they've been there the longest. And so that means that they're taking on these positions of authority and responsibility with absolutely no preparation and training, just they've learnt the way that you did it. So what a great opportunity.
And I think that's back to your kind of looping back to the start. This is where practical applied business school education can really help you. Just what we advocate is stepping back a little bit, working on the business, not just in it. And I'll tell you, when I had my first business, I was spectacularly rubbish at this, even though I'd done a business degree, because you get sucked into it. But the more you can become a part-time strategist, not just a doer, the more chance you've got of growing your business. Or even if you don't want to grow your business, which is fine, understanding how to run your business more efficiently so you're not just a busy fool.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, back to your loop and back to your point, that's where we can help you, give you the strategies, the systems, the processes, the models, the understanding, the time out. Like I said, I'm thinking a different role. If you can't just take 1 hour out of a week just to do a bit of thinking, meet your peers, understand what's going on, a bit of peer learning, understanding what other people are struggling with, other people are doing well, then I think you're into that kind of, if you've done what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got syndrome. And I think that's what I'd like to try and help people get out of.
And there are definitely, and I'm looking at you, entrepreneurs, there are definitely more entrepreneurs who are not comfortable with their numbers than entrepreneurs who are. So if nothing else, what an incredible opportunity for you to go and learn about the numbers and deep dive, and while it's effectively half price. So let's get back to the money side of it. I'm guessing, as are most grants, you've got to apply for the grant before you book up and spend any money. You can't retrospectively claim for something you signed up for 6 months ago.
I don't think you can get away with signing up for something you've already signed up for, Debbie. The way it's supposed to work is you sign up to one of their accredited programs and apply for the money back. We're suggesting what you do is get approval before that, just to make sure, because at the end of the day, we don't want anybody to be doing things or being out of pocket for when they're thinking. And if you were to apply to our business growth program, for example, that's £12,500 plus VAT. You would be expecting a fairly healthy check back. And if you don't do the right way, or you're one postcode different, so I would definitely recommend. What I would recommend is come along to our briefing event next week on Tuesday evening if you can. It's online, like I said, and we'll put the link in the bio for this podcast afterwards. If you can't make that, please contact. I'll give you some details to contact. He's called Leslie from our team, and he'll point you in the right direction, because I don't want people thinking they've got this. But I would recommend applying for the council at the same time as us. It will make it a lot smoother. And they're up for support there. They're not there to be a break. They are genuinely there. This money is there to be spent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like all of us with budgets, once they've allocated it, they want to get it out the door. Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so we've covered eligibility, geographic as well as entry-level requirement. We've covered the how. We've covered the what next. So I guess the only other check that I want to do with you is sector agnostic, right? It doesn't matter whether you're a dog walker or a NASA scientist, you can apply.
That's as far as I understand it, yes. So
amazing.
And we haven't, and I would encourage as many and as wide as you can, because what we've seen we've been quite lucky this year. We've won quite a lot of business. So I think we've done in total in 2022, about 400 companies have been on various programs that I'm in charge of. And the year before, 21-22, we did about 250, 300. So quite a large number. The more widespread, the better, Debbie, because even if your decision out of this is, I don't want to grow big, I want to stay as a lifestyle business. And I hate the way we've got this idea, lifestyle's a bad thing. What's wrong with a business that supports your lifestyle? That sounds brilliant to me.
It worked well for me. I loved it.
But you've got to make a conscious choice of having a plan. And that's all I'd say is this is an opportunity to have a plan, to meet some peers, to learn from your peers, to create a peer network, which has a huge impact on the success of businesses, the people that they hang out with. It's quite hard sometimes to talk to your family and friends about your business, and who do you talk to? Your employee. You can't talk to your employees about people that you're struggling with, and your other co-directors. Who do you talk about? This is a chance to get that all together whilst being funded up to 50%. I think it's a pretty great opportunity if you're based in that area.
Perfect. So you mentioned £50,000. So by my calculations, you could potentially sign up to £100,000 worth of courses. I mean, how you would ever sign up to that many, I don't know, but you could. So you could sign up to 100,000 and then get 50,000 of that back. So it's 50% back. So you've got to pay it out and then claim it. So you need to have that financial runway. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Perfect. Is there anything we haven't covered? Because I feel like that's super clear. Is there anything that you wanted to say that we haven't said, or any top tips to finish off?
No, just apply and don't be scared of business schools. Okay, it's not. This is not. We're not a bunch of dusty academics in ivory towers. That's long since gone away anyway, if they did exist. These are applied courses taught by people who've done the do, been there where you've been, and there's some really great advice to be had, not just from people like me. There's lots of others on these courses. It's not just, you don't have to listen to my voice all the time. But please do apply, because it can make a huge difference. Like, if you look at the Cranfield alumni from Cobra Beer down Thatcher's side, they've all been on these applied programs and have done amazing growth spurt afterwards into the kind of companies that we know they are now. So please do apply, and hopefully we'll see you on the course very soon.
Great. I definitely need to change your been there, done it, got the t-shirt to been there, done it, printed, made, distributed the t-shirt.
Yeah. And now teaches it. Hopefully I don't fall into that Mark Twain quote, those who can do, those who can't teach. I teach because I'm really passionate about the SME sector. Is super important to all of us, the economy, to businesses, to the companies like NatWest. That it's their bread and butter, and we need to support our SME sector. Not all of it has to grow, but those who want to grow need the support to do that. And I think that's why my favourite thing, watching the impact we have on companies that make a decision, put the bits in place and grow. So hopefully I'll see you, because I'm super passionate about it. I'm a bit boring all my friends to death with it over the dinner table, but it is really
That's why we love you. That's why we love you, Martin. Thank you so much for joining us. The link will be in the blurb as well as the narrative. So please reach out. If, when you're listening to this podcast, the discovery event, the briefing session has already passed, please don't let that stop you reaching out. Make contact and let us know how you get on. Martin, thank you for being a great guest today.